Hello, hello, and welcome back. This is the Bitch Why Are We Friends podcast. And as always, I am Cece, and with me is my co host, Didi. Welcome, Didi.
What's up?
What are we even going to talk about?
I believe some people sent us in some interesting things that they've dreamt. We're talking about dreams. We'll probably just focus on, listening to the weird shit they sent us.
We are going to be hearing about some of the fucked up shit that you guys dream about. You're weird. Let me just say that right off the bat. You guys are weird. If we do another weirdo episode, we know that you're just holding out on us because you're weird as fuck. And your dreams are proof of that.
So we have one person named Wendy who sent us in,
and that is her real name, by the way.
Wendy Bird. That's not fair. She's not that much of a cunt. So no. I would go so far as to say she's not one at all. But
we'll talk about it later.
So Wendy describes her weirdest dream, or something that stuck with her. She named it Piss Parade. And this is what she writes. I had a few really messed up dreams last night, and this is a moment in one of them that stuck in my mind as bizarre, hilarious, and just plain fucking weird. So I had to make a bad Photoshop image of it and share, which she did share, and we will use it so all of you can see this gorgeous image that she made about her fucked up dream. So the most fucked up dream that Wendy had was basically a dream where she was in a parade towing a boat with a giant urinal downtown Toronto.
I guess she's been to Toronto.
I'm guessing so. At the time when she went seeking for the meaning of this dream, she found this little bit of information. She said, to see a urinal in your dream signifies disorder in your personal relationships. To dream that you see a boat signifies your ability to cope with and express your emotions. When you dream about a street, or to see a street in your dream, it symbolizes your life's path. The condition of the street reflects how much control you have over the direction of your life. I will say that, like, when I dream of toilets, for one thing, I always check myself when I wake up. Like, I'm always afraid I pissed or shat the bed. Because for me, it's usually like there are so many toilets around and you have to pee in them or take a shit, and there's too many people, so you can't really go. And this always usually means that I have to go to the bathroom, like I have to pee really bad. But this was specifically a urinal, not just a toilet. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's actually probably the most symbolic, the most of the greatest significance. And I think it's penis envy.
Oh, you think that Wendy has penis envy?
Yeah, think about it. The boat, the urinal, these are all things that penises also spend a lot of time around.
Boats and penises, you're saying?
Dicks and ships.
Boats and hoes. Do you ever wake up and remember your dreams so clearly that you either write them down or create some sort of horrible Photoshop masterpiece? Did you ever keep a dream journal or anything to write down your most memorable dreams?
I often just remember them. I have tried writing them down from time to time, but it's just, I don't know. I find it difficult to write about my dreams because it's like the harder I try to focus on them, the more they elude me. And
once you start speaking them out loud to people or writing them down, I find that they dissipate.
Yeah. And I honestly kind of wonder, because I know that one of the things that happens when we're dreaming, we are transferring short-term memories to long-term. And in order for the brain to do that, it has to sift through the previous period of time that you were awake and conscious. And sometimes it's longer than just one day.
But usually about 3 days, I think, usually in general for most people. It's like for like the last few days of your life, you sort of put that into your dreams usually.
Right. And so like some information you process is immediately just tossed out. You don't retain it for any length of time. And other things become short-term memories. But anyway, a big part of what's happening when we're dreaming is that transfer is happening. And so your brain has to go and sift through all of these recently acquired memories and discard certain memories that are not useful as long-term memories. So this is purely like not even a theory, because I'm not like whatever. This is just something I wonder about. But because it's a memory you've basically forgotten. It's information you've forgotten. Your brain has discarded it. It's not there anymore. And so the only memory you have is of having had that dream. There's nothing, it's not connected to anything anymore. And that's another like really important way that we learn things and that we remember things, is that we link them to other pre-existing knowledge or memories.
I will say that knowing that you often will dream about things that you've experienced in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and people you've seen. I dream about like complete strangers who I'm never going to see them again, but I'll dream about them because that was just an experience I had in the previous day.
Knowing that, I will try so hard before I go to sleep to try to not think about certain people or instances so that I don't have to. And yeah, you this is horrible. Like I think we're doing this at like 9 o'clock, and in the evening you go to bed pretty early too, so you're kind of screwed. I'm gonna have to stay up to wipe this out of my head so I don't have any sort of weird
podcast mares.
Yeah, it's not even that, but if it turned sexual, that would be like really bad. And I would actually prefer like a sleep paralysis dream, which are fucking horrible, than having to dream about, your wet snatch or something.
I find that I remember too many of my dreams, and
Yeah.
for too long, like
Yeah.
years, my entire life. There are dreams that I still remember that I had as a little kid, and the feelings that I would experience when I woke up. I mean, the dream wasn't real for the outside world, but it was real for me. Like I felt those feelings. Like fear, or it's always the negative ones, right? But sometimes like happiness, or I laugh pretty often in my sleep, which people don't actually find charming.
No,
it turns out.
I sing and I can giggle and do.
Oh yeah, you do your weird little girl voice.
And yeah, I've creeped out Zed because he stays up later than me working right next to me, and he'll hear me go, "Mommy? Mommy?" Apparently the other day I was talking in little girl, a whole conversation, just whispering it quickly in my sleep, just whispering, and he was just like, I don't usually get creeped out, but that was fucking creepy.
My sister used to record, like make note of, not audio recordings, but she used to keep a record of the weird things I would say out loud in my sleep. And to this day, I still wonder if maybe she just dreamt that I was doing it, but I don't know. It seems unlikely.
Does your sister suffer from insomnia now?
I don't know.
Some childhood trauma where you kept her awake with your
horrible... No, this was as adults. This was when we were roommates when we were both at university. This was not as children, but we were in our, I guess she was in her late teens and I was in my early 20s, and she was like, you were talking about something in your sleep last night. And I was like, oh yeah, sometimes I do that. And she was like, it's kind of weird. You announced to the entire apartment that everybody was going to the moon.
You and I could never have a sleepover because we would just be having whole conversations to each other. To somebody else, it would sound like we're just cooing and laughing and singing and talking all night to each other. It'd be fucking horrible for the other person if there was
Yeah.
another person there.
Well, I mean, sometimes I cry. I used to get night terrors as a small child and wake up. Well, I wouldn't wake up, but everybody else would wake up to me screaming.
Yeah, those aren't fun.
But I used to sleepwalk as well as a kid, which I think is much more common. Sleep talking and sleepwalking are much more common in children. And I was confrontational as a sleepwalking child. I would come right downstairs and yell at you.
I think I had that in me, but I was too lazy because I was told I would just sit up in my bed and I wouldn't leave my bed. I think I was a lazy sleepwalker whereas I couldn't get my ass out of my bed. But I would also just like find myself in the morning with my feet up on the, way up on a wall and stuff because I would just move around in my bed. Yeah, I think I was actually just too lazy to commit to full on sleepwalking.
Now, if I wake up like and weird things have happened, it's only ever because I've had a seizure. So it's not as exciting for people.
No, that's just awful.
Yeah, well, it's more exciting, but in a bad way.
But we don't get to see it. So it's not that exciting to hear about it. It just sounds awful.
Well, I'm sure if you saw it, it wouldn't be great.
It'd be exciting. It wouldn't be great, but it would still be exciting.
It's very exciting. Yeah.
See, you should try to at least incorporate some of that creepy talking noises while you're doing it. I know that you can actually you're all seized up, but I mean, if you could figure out a way.
Speak in tongues.
Yeah, exactly. That would really make people shit their pants.
That's true. I found that convulsing so violently that I hit my face and head on a desk until I'm bleeding is pretty effective.
Yeah, that's also pretty awful. And then you can just, yeah, you're right.
You don't have to make a sound when you're doing that.
No, but it could help. I mean, come on. We're gonna get so many, the wrong person hearing this will be just like,
right?
This is awful. Why are you making fun of people with
epilepsy? Yeah.
Yep. So we went off on a tangent with our own bullshit. So should we give somebody else a little chance to explain some of their crazy, weird shit they've dreamt?
Yeah, why not? That last one was really, it was weird. In Toronto, of all places.
I know.
Anyway.
So specific.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. When you just know you're in a place, even when it doesn't look like that place necessarily in a dream.
Or that that somebody is that supposed to be that person, and yet it doesn't really look like them. It's sort of a muddled, but it was them.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The feelings are real.
Yeah,
it's all real.
And not just people. I mean, dogs,
exactly.
Animals. That's the mind-blowing thing is they all have the same, they have dreams too.
Well, and they dream about the same things that we do. They just dream about they dream about us.
Except, in grayscale.
Well, right. I think I would look better in grayscale.
They have classy dreams. But, not everybody has, a lot of people do dream in black and white. So it's not just animals.
Maybe they have dog genes. Anyway.
Yeah, they were a dog in a former life.
We did get one particularly committed listener to send in an audio recording of her telling us about her strangest dream. So we're gonna play that for you and see if we can psychoanalyze her.
So I feel like I've definitely seen on the news recently, and I double checked this morning after I woke up because that was the only reason why any of this made any sense. But like it was in the news this week that Pete Davidson was going to outer space. So that is like one of the underlying messages for like why this dream happened. So Pete Davidson's going to space, obviously a hot topic in the news these days. And so, like, what was happening in my dream, or like the underlying plot, was that I was invited to go to outer space with Pete Davidson. But the thing is, it wasn't this like SpaceX nonsense. This was like a full-on NASA mission. So like NASA is bringing Pete Davidson to space, and just like with the Challenger, you know, in the 80s when that happened, they needed a token teacher. Then, you know, and with the Challenger, they had a science teacher who was going to do, you know, science experiments. I guess for some reason they wanted a history teacher there. So naturally, they picked me. So I got this invitation from NASA to go to outer space, and Pete Davidson was going to be there. Unfortunately, that's like the greatest extent that Pete Davidson is involved in the story. It does get focused back on me, but you know, I have to wonder if I would try to bang him just to get myself in on the drama. You know, why not? If you're in space, I mean, how many people can say they fucked in space? So, you know, that was definitely on my mind. But, you know, the reality of, you know, going to outer space started to really hit. And so I called my mother to process with her, like, yo, mom, got invited to space. What should I do? And in real life, like, my mother had kind of a traumatic memory of the Challenger explosion. Like, she was a union organizer, and she was working in New Hampshire, where the teacher was from at the time. And, you know, she described it as like just as eerie of a day as when Kennedy died. And so when I tell my mom in my dream that, you know, I was invited to go to outer space, she was just like, you're gonna die. But I was like, no, mom, that's not gonna happen to me. I think I can do it. But like the whole time I have this thought in the back of my head of like, yo, mom thinks I'm gonna die, and it could happen. You know, I watched this Netflix 4-part documentary series, and you know, NASA fucks up. It could happen to me. It could happen to me and Pete. It really could. But so, regardless of, you know, my invitation to outer space, I still have to go to work the next day, which is also the day before, you know, the mission starts. Naturally. So, you know, I don't remember the details in my dream of, you know, like what lessons I taught. Who knows? But, oh, where's I going with this? So like, you know, after school, you know, it's school's over, ready to come home, take the dog out. Gotta tell Dolly I'm going to space. Shit, I don't even think I worked through those logistics in my dream, but that would have been a whole thing. But I do remember, well, it was like, okay, when I was leaving school, though, it's not like I was leaving the school that I currently teach at, but it was like I was leaving my high school, Asheville High School. And I was walking down McDowell Street, and if you know it, you know it. And then my two friends from college, like, just happened to drive by. And they're not from Asheville. They live in Kentucky. But they drove by, and I loved them so much. And they're like, hey, we want to go hiking? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm, like, going to space tomorrow, but I might die. So let's go for a hike first. So I get in their car, and we've got, I guess Dolly made it there because we went hiking with all the dogs, and it was a thing. And then after we come back, like, we get back, and I'm like, okay, guys, you know, got to get ready for tomorrow. Very big day. Still don't know if I'm going to do it or not. We get back, and then I, like, run into someone from work, and they're like, we have this, like, very serious meeting. So I have to, like, fucking go back to work. It's probably, like, 6:30 at this point, you know, still dream. And go back to work, and it's, like, this very serious meeting of, like, an actual real situation I had with a student last week. So I won't get into too many of the details of that. But it was, like, you know, getting back into this, like, fucking nonsense, blah, blah, blah. And at one point I was like, y'all know I'm, like, supposed to go to space tomorrow, right? Like, I gotta get my shit together. And so they're like, okay, yeah, go home. So I'm on my way home, and I realized, like, I haven't eaten. I'm hungry as shit. So I stop at a gas station to get some snacks, and I also realized, like, shit, I'm probably gonna need some snacks before I go into space tomorrow. So I'm looking around, and as one does, I go to the white wine section. And this is probably the weirdest part of the dream, honestly, if I'm being real. the only flavor of white wine that they had was garlic. And I was just like, well, I guess we're doing this. So I got some garlic flavored white wine and some snacks, and paid for them. And I even told the cash register checking out, like, yeah, I'm bringing this to space tomorrow. And he's like, no way, you're that history teacher. So like, it was known, it was a thing. And yeah, so got the snacks, got my garlic wine. And I guess before I went to bed to prepare for the NASA exploration, I was able to see the spaceship. And I guess I wanted to see it before I made a decision, because it was still, my mother's fear was still looming in my head that, my mother is convinced I'm going to die if I go into outer space. So like, they let me see it, and it was actually more like an Airbnb than like a spaceship. And I was like, yo, y'all doing this just for me and Pete? Like, making this look nice? Like, no, we can handle what the scientists do. Like, show me where y'all are staying. What's going on? And so we like go down into these stairs and like start going down into this like spaceship area where I'm prepared to be like, laying back and have, like full throttle. And that is literally the point when I woke up to my dog Dolly ferociously licking my face.
there, there are a lot of details.
I love just the way she used space. Just space, just like, oh, because I'm going to space.
I like it's a whole new kind of name dropping.
Like, I just thought every time she mentioned space, I just thought it was funny. It was good.
Yeah, and Pete Davidson.
And how about animals waking us up right when things are getting good? I mean, that's just,
There's always something right when you ask someone a question and they're right about to answer, and it's like a really important answer and you really need to know, and then you wake up and you're like, motherfucker.
or when you're
Like,
going to fucking space and they wake
right,
you up.
you're about to go to
like,
right, you're about to like full on, full throttle.
I'd like to know if she tried to go back to sleep to get back there.
Mhm.
I know sometimes you can do that, but
Oh, totally.
other times it's just like, you little asshole.
Yeah, you stupid little bastard. Absolutely. Pets, alarms, people. Just don't wake me up. Just don't ever wake me up. I'll wake up when I'm ready. When it's time.
I really loved the garlic wine too. I actually, when I was listening to that, I could kind of weirdly taste what garlic wine might taste like.
Me too. And for some reason, I was picturing black garlic.
Black garlic.
Like somehow that would go better with white wine.
Right.
I think it's because I almost ordered something with black garlic for lunch today and I didn't. So I wanted it to be somewhere.
You missed out, and now you
Yeah.
needed all of us to know that.
Braised eggplant and black garlic.
Ooh. I think somebody should make garlic wine now.
Yeah, I wonder if somebody already does, like maybe it's or maybe not garlic wine specifically, but like a garlicky libation.
Well, I mean, a lot of those like Elay scotches, like you look at their notes of what people,
Right.
their description, and it's like
Notes of old boot.
exactly, and peat and fish, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was
Smoke.
garlic in there. So
Right?
yeah,
Why
this
not?
old flannel shirt. I mean, it's just
Well,
it would be crazy if we had the technology to join people in their dreams. If we could,
yes.
be a part of, tap into people's dreams. That would have been a fun one to be a part of.
Absolutely. I find dreams that like with so many, like it feels like those dreams must last for a really long time. I mean, they don't, but it just feels like so much has happened and there's so many details and so much information. And then, it was probably like a few minutes.
Yeah, I remember being mind blown when I realized that most of your dreams last a couple minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Dreams are pretty cool. I've been able to fly in dreams. Those are my favorite dreams for sure. Sometimes I'm just floating. And once I was being blown away by the wind, and that was not actually fun. That was scary. I was also a little kid in the dream and in real life at the time.
It is nice when you have those dreams where you do, it's sudden, you become conscious that you are dreaming, and then you can steer them around in different ways. You're like, oh, I am dreaming, so let's try doing things, it used to be easier for me to do that, and now it's a little bit more difficult for me to realize that things are actual dreams. Everything's sort of blurring together.
Yeah, I've heard that there are ways you can kind of train yourself to be able to lucid dream. And one of the most, like, outside of being in a laboratory where people are influencing you in certain ways, the one thing that you can actually do in your own time is pay attention periodically throughout your waking hours. Pay attention to little cues and clues and whatever that help you know that you're awake. I guess the absence of those things in dreams is sort of that's how you can like be like, oh, if I were awake, I would be able to do this. But then I don't know, I get fucked up because sometimes people will be speaking other languages in my dreams, and I'm not totally sure if they're actually like, I don't speak some of those languages, and certainly not very well. My French is terrible, but people will speak French in my dreams fluently. So then it makes it hard because I'm like, well,
yeah, how could you replicate this if it wasn't real?
right? Exactly. Like, how can I make up things in French that I don't know how to say? So, but fuck, who knows? Maybe I'm secretly a polyglot. I'm a language genius, but only
tapped into it.
Yeah, only when I'm asleep. I can speak many languages, and I will lie about not being asleep. A sleep talker and a sleep liar.
Sleep liar.
I sleep lie. All that you've seen it. That's why a certain person gets so mad at me when I fall asleep, because and they have to try to wake me up because I will say anything to get you to let me keep sleeping.
Exactly. I used to actually get really belligerent when people would try to move me from the couch. They're like, oh, you're asleep on the couch. And then I would wake up just enough to be just anything I could say
indignant
to just leave me the fuck alone. And like just weird things like, you didn't do this, or you like, why did you, just like sort of just like, this is why I'm stuck sleeping on the couch. Leave me alone, I'm asleep. It's just, I don't know, it's a very strange, it's almost like you're bartering. But I do remember what you're referring to. It was really funny watching this person try to drag you off of the couch and get you, and sometimes you look like you were awake, but you just were so out of it. Apparently people remember their dreams more on the weekends, and I was curious if you have experienced that, and possibly it's just that you get a longer REM cycle because you're not waking up for work and shit like that. So I was curious if you remember more of your weekend dreams than your weekday dreams, or if it's just pretty much the same.
I think it's pretty much the same. I can't really tell. I definitely have more like, like morning dreams are kind of different than like nighttime dreams.
Exactly, because of the REM cycle.
Yeah, and so the closer you get to waking up, the kind of weirder, but in some ways more real dreams get.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Actually, I was reading about this, and morning is apparently when most people have longer and more vivid dreams. Right before, I mean, not right before they wake up, but basically.
Makes sense then that you wake up during like all those really intense, important parts of dreams, because that was maybe one of your more significant and longer dreams.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are a fantastic and strange species.
Exactly. I spent a lot of time throughout my whole life dreaming about bears. And I always wondered if there were any bears that dreamt about me throughout their life.
What
I
were you
doubt it.
dreaming about? Were you were just dreaming about bears in general, not specific bears that you'd seen?
No, because I've only seen bears, like, unfortunately I've only seen bears, so like in a controlled setting.
Right.
I've never actually ever been able to see bears. I think I've talked about this before. They just don't want. They just said, "Fuck you! You're not gonna see us ever."
They smell you coming.
Yeah. No, it was always about bears coming down the mountain, and it was scary. And they were always coming into my house in these dreams.
Wow.
And often, one of the most popular bears that would show up in my dreams was Bart the bear from like all of those wonderful movies. And it was just because he's a famous bear and I remember his face. He had a great long lip that reached out, and he was a wonderful, beautiful grizzly bear. And so he always made, and he still shows up sometimes in my bear.
Aw.
Yeah, but I did wonder, like, or like our animals. Like, do you wonder if like your I don't know if
Did my pets dream about me? I
Yeah.
know that they do. There was some research that they conducted that shows, I don't think it included cats, but that dogs dream about us,
Yeah, I know
which
that
is adorable.
it is. I was curious, just like I know that our pets dream about the people they know. I'm just curious, do you do you think that your animals specifically, like, do you just think about these moments where you're sitting here and you're like, I wonder if they're asleep dreaming about me right now, just like because they've been so far away from you as well.
Oh
Just
yeah, because of that. I guess I don't really know enough about the science of cat and dog dreams to know if I would still be
relevant.
present enough, given that because I know for dogs it's like they kind of measure the passage of time based on fading smells, and like my dog hasn't smelled me in like a long time, or anything that anything that I own.
Yeah.
And
Maybe you're
so
just a shadow person now, that
yeah,
when they dream about that shadow person that used
right,
to.
exactly. But I think honestly, I think that they do, because they have whatever they have their short-term memories, but then they also have their longer term core memories. And
Yeah.
I think that for the fucking cat, if I'm not in a part of her core memories, then fuck her. Absolutely fuck her. Unacceptable.
You probably are. She just doesn't want to show you. She'll never
Right.
let you know.
Oh, absolutely not. She's such a fucking emotional terrorist.
Just get her that bubble thing to carry her around in.
Yeah, right. So that as soon as she gets out of it, she can slash my throat. Yeah, I don't think so.
Something, I mean, we're not going to get, obviously, is a huge topic, but another thing that I find interesting is just sex dreams. And I was curious, because I know that it's known that women are twice as likely to have sex dreams about public figures and celebrities and stuff like that, compared to men. So I was curious if you have any memorable or recurring celebrity sex dreams. Like, is there a celebrity that you can recall that has shown up at
My
least once,
dreams, at least
possibly
once.
twice?
I know that I have dreamt about, like, I know that I've had sex dreams about public figures and celebrities. I just honestly can't think of which ones.
When I was young, like, I don't remember when Legends of the Fall came out or Interview with the Vampire, but I was pretty young. I was like
Early 90s.
like 12 or something like that. No, it was a little bit later than that. Anyways, I just find it weird now looking back that I was having sex dreams about like Brad Pitt and Johnny Depp back then,
Yeah.
because they were my parents' age.
Right.
It didn't seem weird at all. It was just like, well, they're celebrities, so I can this is this is why it's weird. But I was a kid, so I don't think that I should be shamed for this at all. But it was like, they're celebrities, so I can sexualize them. I didn't sexualize people I went to school with. They were like,
Mhm.
at that age, they were like my friends, and it would be weird to do that. But
And if
but
you ever
still,
had a sex dream about them, you'd never be able to look at them in
no,
the face
exactly.
again.
If you like held hands with somebody in a dream, you wouldn't want to see them at school that day. But
Absolutely not.
sexualizing, like
Strangers.
exactly, or like those people who loved My So-Called Life, and so many people probably had sex dreams about Jordan Catalano, and there's so many sex, just 90s sex uh, objects that girls my age dreamt about. And it's just, looking back now, it's like, people nowadays might think that's really, I mean, how could I control it? It's your dream. You can't really, I mean, you can to a point, but
Well, exactly. And, if you ask a Freudian, it's because you secretly wanted to be doing all of those things, but it's a little a bit of an oversimplification.
yeah. So, and often your sex dreams aren't really about sex. There's other things,
Right.
Right.
But
still, some of it's like really sexy. So sexy sex dreams. Then the whole thing comes up with even people experiencing orgasms in their dreams. There's been sometimes that have been so fucking frustrating, where you're like edging. It's your orgasm feels like it should come like right now, and it never does. And then you wake up and you, fuck, what the hell was that? It was just one big, it was just a tease. It was just one big tease. But then a lot of people say that your sex dreams aren't really a lot about sex, even though it's like there's a lot of
sometimes
sex going on.
sometimes mine are. They're
And
definitely just about sex.
yeah, I mean, when there's a lot of like, yeah, exactly. So
Like, I appreciate people trying, and everything, but it's
sometimes it's just so much, there's nothing else going on. There's just sex.
exactly.
And I think we polled some of our listeners about their, what they experienced. Out of the people that we asked, 0% actually admitted to jizzing in their sleep.
Wow, you guys are liars.
Or, they just, nobody that does that wanted to admit that. About 40% said that they weren't sure. It was, not to their knowledge. They never
That's
done
that's a yes. That's a definitely, it
that.
happens.
Another 40% said that they dream of sex, but not to the point of having an orgasm or anything like that. And 20% said that they only experience morning wood.
One of those was you.
No, I think I voted for something else. But
Okay.
I find, I do, that's, I don't know, I find that interesting, because I did go through a period of wishing I was a dude and I had a dick, and that was one of the things I thought would be so cool, to wake up with a giant boner. That was one of the envious, things that I had about penises, was definitely boners.
It was or specifically boners first thing in the morning.
Boners first thing in the morning, exactly. And also, because I didn't know this before, being able to come while you're sleeping.
Oh, well, I mean, but women can do that.
Exactly. I didn't actually know that a lot of people, that
You just
women
don't know it's
also,
happened because,
because I don't think that I had ever, no, it's that frustrating thing in your dreams where it doesn't happen.
right.
But
right.
also, just even if I did, it hasn't happened to the point where I would have to change the sheets or something, is what I'm saying. But with
Right.
dudes, sometimes you can really tell that they have
Yeah.
jizzed everywhere. But
Yep.
sorry. And
Well,
I've brought everything down into the slick poo gutter again. I'm sorry, but
that must mean it's the end of the episode. Once we get,
that's your subtle way of scraping me off the bottom of your shoe. Slicing me up with a poop knife so I can fit down the toilet. Apparently that's an American thing. I've never heard of it though.
Who said that was an American thing? What?
Okay, wait, this is just an aside, but this happened during a forum that I was reading and a part of, and somebody had mentioned, oh, that would be a perfect poo knife. And it kind of devolved from there. And people were admitting, and half the people were like, what the fuck is a poop knife? And the other half were like, yeah, that definitely looks like a poop knife. And this whole group were mostly Americans. And so to me, I feel like this is mostly an American thing where Americans keep a knife next to their toilet.
No.
This is what they said, to chop up their poop so it'll go down the toilet properly. And I'd never fucking heard of that before. And I, used to live in America. So
Like absolutely.
So don't change your diet. Just pick a really pretty knife to leave next to your toilet. And also, this is really gross. The gross thing is that the families would often share the knives. It was like
What forum was this?
like the family poop knife. It was actually in a vintage group because we collect like really cool like vintage everything.
knives.
And then this had to do with a knife. So we will say goodbye until next week. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but the subject matter will be awful.